Welcome to the Ad Nauseam podcast, where classical gourmands everywhere can finally get their fill. Join us for a delectable discussion of Greco-Roman civilization stretching from the Minoans and Mycenaeans through the Renaissance and right down to the present. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here are your hosts, Dr. David Noe and Dr. Jeff Winkle.
Welcome, listeners, to the Ad Nauseam podcast. I believe, Dave, this is episode 193.
Your beliefs correspond with reality. Congratulations.
Excellent. My name is Dr. Jeff Winkle. I'm down here in the bunker in the slopes of Parnassus.
That's right.
Vomitorium Central.
That's correct.
And on this very warm September day.
Yes. Unseasonably.
Unseasonably warm, almost a little bit too warm.
Yes.
But I'm down here, as always, with my good friend and excellent co-host, Dr. David C. Noe. How you feeling, Dave?
Well, first of all, Jeff, you forgot to mention that your middle name is T.
Oh, Jeffrey T. Winkle. That's right.
And
We're doing
T stands for?
Well, I wanted to go with tactless.
That figures.
So I'm feeling very much without tact
That's
today.
correct.
But you suggested, and this is more germane to the topic.
That's
correct. You
correct.
suggested the T should stand for table of contents.
Table of contents.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
and the C in David C. Noe stands for card catalog.
I
wonder if anybody knows what that is.
Oh, I know. Do you remember the days of the card catalog?
Of course. Those
right?
impossibly long drawers. Tiny little drawer face, but then it would say something like A through B, and you'd pull it out like unthreading something. And
exactly.
Page through there, and the smell and the sensation of the card catalog.
Oh, yeah. I loved it.
I enjoyed it too.
I'm going to sound like a grumpy old man, screaming at a cloud, but I think that one of the things that the current climate has lost is kind of the thrill of the hunt.
Yes.
It's
too easy.
It's too easy.
Yes.
Exactly. It's no longer the journey. It's just just give it to me now.
That's right. Well, let me tell you a little story about that, if I may, just brief. The first
please.
of many digressions.
Yes.
I'm reading a book by one John Anthony McGuckin, who's a pretty famous Orthodox priest and a really brilliant scholar of antiquity.
Yeah.
And the book is a big, fat book called something like The Path of Christianity, First 1,000 Years.
Wow.
It's about 1,200 pages.
Sheesh.
The font is too small.
Oh, my goodness.
But he's an excellent writer, and I learned so much. Along about page 300, he drops a reference to St. Augustine, and he says something along the lines of, you should read Eugene Tissell, Augustine the Theologian, and he said it's confessional in orientation, but not overly sectarian. And I think, well, this book's impossibly long, so I buy the other one, and I read it.
Yeah.
And now that I'm finished, I got to go back to McGuckin, and I got 700 more pages.
Oh, my goodness.
So this, to me, is like the thrill of the hunt, right?
Yes.
You read one book, and it says, hey, how about this one? And you branch out.
Right.
That's fun.
That is fun. That's why you read the footnotes.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm reminded of often, I think, one of the many things about me that drives my wife crazy.
Okay.
Is if we're out driving somewhere and I have maybe a vague notion of where the endpoint is.
Right.
And she says, just let me plug it into Google Maps.
Oh, no.
And I said, I'm keen to guess.
Yes.
Right. I want to see how close I can get.
That's fun.
She can't. It is fun. It is fun.
I agree.
But it's my wife said, oh, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited about this episode, Jeffrey T. Winkle. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine.
Great.
Yeah, enjoying the nice weather. It's been a great start to the semester.
Yes.
So I said that I'm without tact, but I think my tact is.
I think you're pretty tactful.
It's intact.
That's correct.
Yeah,
you have no Latin themed T-shirt on today.
No, I'm coming straight from the classroom. Although I should wear my Latin themed T-shirt in the classroom.
Something from the plaid collection. It
exactly.
To be.
Right. Yep.
And I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I am really eager for this episode.
Yeah.
We finished up the Plato, and we're going to do this one, which is about the Library of Alexandria.
Yes.
Now, many years ago, sometime after we began the podcast, but prior to today, we got a suggestion from someone. Don't remember the person's name. They said in an email, cover the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
And I said, great idea. We'll do that.
Mm-hmm. And
finally,
we're
going to do that.
Is this years later?
That's correct. And the reason I've had to wait is because I've been working on one of my many app ideas.
Oh, yeah.
And this is an app that will automatically return books for you.
Yes.
You just, plug it in, and then a vehicle will zoom up and take your books back to the library.
Yeah.
And you know the perfect name for this?
What is it?
Renuber. All right.
I like it.
Okay, so Jeff, we got to set the table here. Do we have an Ope quote?
Yeah. There's a number of things out there. So I thought I would like to set this up as in this way.
Yes.
When I was thinking about this topic, and I was talking to you off air, is almost always when the Library of Alexandria has come up in class, it's always been around not what the library was,
right,
but it's about its devastating burning.
Exactly.
Right. And very often, not only that, it's come up in almost as a part of a conspiracy theory that, and I've seen it, that it was the pagans that burned it down. No, it was the Christians that burned it down.
Or maybe it was the marauding Arabs, right?
Yes, exactly.
When Islam swept through that area.
So it becomes kind of this religious and ethnic argument.
It's charged.
That's right. So I thought if we were going to talk about this, we should address, I think, a lot of what I think are misunderstood aspects of that.
So we're gonna play Jamie Hyneman and Adam Savage.
Who are you talking about?
You know, the Mythbusters.
Mythbusters guys.
Yes. That's what we're gonna try to do. We're gonna try to peel back the layers.
Right.
So I've often heard the story told that way as well, in the sense of, the great fire in Rome. While Rome burned, Nero fiddled.
Yes.
And so while the Library of Alexandria burned, what Caesar was playing the drums or something?
Yeah.
It's kind of the
bagpipes,
impression.
something like that, right.
Mark Antony was lolling around, lollygagging, while the whole library burned to an ash.
Right. Yeah.
But that apparently isn't true.
It is not true.
Not the case.
In the same way, I would love to do an episode on the fire at Rome too.
Yes.
But all evidence points that Nero, not only did he not have a fiddle because it didn't exist,
right,
he wasn't even in town.
Okay.
And so I think we're gonna we'll approach this from a similar standpoint, and we'll try to break down what's legit and what's not.
Well, then Jeff, get us started then with that opening quote, please.
I got a number of kind of short quotes from a number of works regarding the library. First one comes from one Mustafa el-Abadi, who wrote a book from 1992 called The Life and Fate of the Ancient Library of Alexandria. And he writes, the fire of Julius Caesar's fleet was not a fire that was set in order to destroy the library, and it didn't do so either. Rather, it destroyed the goods that were stored in the port. What was destroyed at the time was an accidental fire, and it damaged only a part of the books.
Interesting.
All right, so there's this story, this historical event where Julius Caesar arrives in Alexandria. A fire breaks out, and then the myth kind of blows it up into this is the event that burned the library to the ground. And Al-Abadi says, no.
That's not what happened.
No, there was some damage, but whatever damage was done to the library was probably minimal.
Right.
Yep.
So when it says it damaged only a part of the books, the end of the quote, was the part of the books that it damaged maybe the end notes?
Yeah.
I would be happy to part with all those end notes.
And notes, exactly. So no loss at all.
No loss at all. Right. If you're going to reference something, put it at the bottom of the page where we can find it.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Exactly. Yeah. You want to read the next one here?
Sure. I'm not sure how to pronounce this scholar's name. Is it Bagnall?
I would say Bagnall. Yeah.
Bagnall. So Roger Bagnall, The Papyrology of the Roman Empire, a survey, 2011. Papyrology, Jeff? The study of papyri?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
He says, quote, the loss of a library is not the same thing as the loss of knowledge. Libraries are a means of preserving and transmitting knowledge, not the only means. Now, I have to interrupt Roger there. This seems a little pedantic.
Okay, yeah.
This seems to me similar to someone telling me, a straw is not the beverage itself. A straw is the means of getting the beverage into your mouth.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Now, that's all true, but how can you turn this into a book? Is anyone thinking that libraries are the same thing as knowledge? Anyway, to continue, much of what was in the library was also in other libraries. Again, profound? I don't know. And much of it was also in the heads of scholars and students.
Yeah.
So can you give a more charitable reading of that than I have?
Yeah, I think that when I have discussed the Library of Alexandria and people bemoaning its burning,
yes,
the reason they bemoan it comes from this idea, well, these were the only copies of such and such, and they were gone forever, and because of that burning, we've lost so much knowledge.
I see.
And so Bagnall's saying, well...
He's kind of pushing back against the notion the Library of Alexandria was a conflagration of knowledge.
Right. Yeah, and I think that you could also, I think Bagnall would be sympathetic to the argument that, actual literacy, people who could read and write, was very low.
Okay.
And even at the height of the library's collection.
Right.
And so it was still very much a culture of memory.
Right.
In a way that we don't have anymore. And so the burning of any particular book, he's right, didn't necessarily mean that the knowledge in that text was gone for good.
Got it.
Yeah.
That is an important point. And when I teach Latin, as I was doing recently, I think this is related. I like to convince my students not to confuse literacy with fluency by telling them that during the time of Constantine, maybe 1 million people on the Italian peninsula.
Yeah.
So 305, maybe 1 million people, only 10% of whom were literate.
Right.
And the 90%, the other 900,000 people, were speaking perfect Latin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So knowledge, it's right. Roger's right. Not in books.
You've come around to Raj.
A little bit, yes.
Right.
You're going to go on to Diana Delia?
Yeah, Diana Delia, who wrote, also from 1992, like Al-Abadi, wrote The Library of Alexandria and its Aftermath. She writes, there is no credible testimony that the Great Library of Alexandria was ever destroyed in a single event. The most that can be said is that the book collections of the Ptolemaic kings suffered various losses over a long period, finally disappearing from the historical record in late antiquity.
Interesting.
Right. So there, that how these various events, coalesced into the myth of one singular destruction is very common. I was just talking in my my archaeology class this morning about the theory about how the myth of the destruction of Atlantis may in fact be a simplification of the collapse of Thera, which is now Santorini.
Yes.
And it's
a Minoan.
Yes, and its subsequent yes, and its subsequent effect on Knossos.
Right.
And so if you kind of put those two things together, then you have, it kind of ultimately becomes the story of kind of one island, one culture that sinks into the sea.
Correct.
And so, the myth kind of takes real historical events, but complex things and then simplifies them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we could do an episode on that sometime,
Yeah.
but we actually, one of the last movies we ever attended together, as you remember.
What was it again?
It was one of the Aquaman movies.
Did we really?
Yes, we did.
I blocked it out of my memory.
Yeah. And Plato says that Atlantis is beyond the Pillars of Hercules.
Right.
I digress.
Right. Yeah.
So we want to move on to Luciano Conforta.
Yeah, we got a couple more quotes here, but tackle this one.
Okay, so Luciano Conforta, The Vanished Library, A Wonder of the Ancient World from 1989. Quote, the story of the Library of Alexandria's destruction has served as a powerful myth for a long time. The myth is based on a number of historical events, but it is not a truthful or a complete history of the library. The reality is much more complex than a single act of destruction.
All right, so Luciano basically underlining what Delia says in the previous quote.
Right,
So,
and if I were to continue what he says after there, I imagine he would say something like, and that's the reason I need to write this book, and that you need to buy it.
Right.
Because the story is much more complex than a single act of destruction.
Exactly, right. And he says probably much more interesting, right? All the detail he's going to share. Yeah.
Before we go on to Christopher Haas, who's coming up next as we set the table, I'd like to know, Jeff, what's your first memory of a visit to a library, and which one was it? Do you know?
Yes, it was the Georgetown Township Library, which is was in my hometown of Jenison, Michigan.
Okay.
And my parents took me there a lot. I think it was, they had a lot of...
Did they ever bring you back?
Well, I think it was, when I look back on it, they had a lot of summer programming. And I think for my parents, this is free babysitting.
I need a break.
Right, exactly. But they had, I was sucked in to like the gamification of reading. Like if you read this many books...
Oh, it's incredible.
And then you cross off your list, or you turn in your summary.
You can get a cheap trinket.
You get a trinket or a T-shirt or something.
Tchotchke.
I love that kind of stuff.
I do too.
And so, I remember... they had like a drawing contest where you had to illustrate your favorite scene from your favorite book, and it was up on the wall.
You must have won. That's right up your alley.
I did not. I remember being so disappointed because I thought I was a shoo-in.
Well, you are, I would say, a capable cartoonist.
It was, and I even remember the book. It was, did you ever read The Phantom Toll Booth?
No. I've heard a lot about it, though. My kids loved it, read it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was one of my favorites as a kid. I thought I knocked it out of the park, but didn't even medal.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
In my hometown of Belding, there was the Alva N. Belding Library.
Okay.
So Mr. Belding was a silkworm magnet. You can't make this stuff up.
Really?
Yes, the city of Belding was big in the silk mill industry.
Wow.
Yes.
You're serious?
I'm dead serious.
All right.
They had, along the banks of the Flat River, they used hydroelectric power to generate silk to make fabric, and there were silk mills there, and this is how Mr. Belding became fabulously wealthy. Now, I don't know if Belding paid for this library himself, or if Carnegie was involved, because it was built right around the time that Andrew Carnegie was running around the country building libraries.
Just handing out cash.
That's correct,
right.
as quickly as he could. But my memories of that library have to do first with its architecture.
Okay.
And I'd like to mention this because when we talk about Alexandria, we have to talk about the architecture of the building.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
It was unlike any other building. Sandstone, vaguely classical, columns, pillars, ornate carvings, in the capitals, and so on and so forth. A big staircase that you go up to it.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, what was the Georgetown Library like? Was it all glass and steel, kind of a modern aesthetic?
No, it was one of those buildings where I think they thought ahead that said one day this is probably going to be converted into a nail salon. Oh. And we want that transition to be as easy as possible. So, no, it's actually, I mean, I'm being stupid, but it's gone through a couple of rebuildings, and the current library in Genesis is actually quite nice.
Right.
But that original building, I think, has been divided up into offices.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, now that I'm old and jaded, when I go, to a library or something like that, I just want the books. Mm-hmm. So I have become much more economical in my thinking.
Yeah.
But it occurs to me that as a kid, if I went to a library that looked like my house, I wouldn't expect anything great.
Right. That's true.
It was the difference of the setting that I thought, I'm entering an august space.
Yeah.
And then you wander around the stacks, right? And you stumble upon things.
Yeah.
And the idea that you could get a book and not have to pay for it.
Right.
Just on the promise that you'd bring it back.
Yeah, exactly.
And the free bookmarks that were always huddled around the checkout place.
Yes.
That was nice too.
It was good, yeah. And everything you're talking about is one of the reasons I love the main library in Grand Rapids. It's a wonderful, beautiful ornate stone building with the high ceilings and the polished floors.
Right.
It's great. Yeah.
And all this goes in some way all the way back to Alexandria.
Yes.
You want to give us Christopher Haas?
Yes. And I don't think he's going to add a whole lot to our conversation, but it's repetita you want, right? The repetitions, they benefit. The story of the lost Library of Alexandria is a powerful tale of intellectual and cultural catastrophe, but it is a myth. The library's end was a long, slow, and gradual process of decay and decline rather than a single dramatic blaze. So it seems like a lot of these books are saying, listen, everybody...
Taking all the fun out of it.
But they're also saying, listen, this is what everybody thinks,
okay,
and I'm going to give you the real story. Yeah.
So why did it decline? Were people just checking out books and not bringing them back?
Well, yeah, they didn't have a very stringent fine policy.
I see.
Bring it back when you can.
Yeah, and those fines are always kind of a little bit. They don't really have teeth, right?
They don't.
The penalty is we won't let you check out another book.
Right.
Often.
Right.
But I have the one that I want, and that's why you're not getting it back.
Right.
So
yes, the one thing that always gets me too is it's happened where I've checked out a book and completely forgotten that I've checked it out.
Oh, yes.
And I think they get in the mail and say, we've charged you. Now this book belongs to you.
Right.
We charge you at this.
Is it Tropic of Capricorn sort of thing?
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
right.
Seinfeld reference.
Yeah.
But the institution that is our alma mater and at which we were both once employed.
I know it.
Yes. They no longer have any kind of magnetic equipment attached to the books. You can just go in and take them, and it's entirely the honor system. When you take them out, there's nothing that beeps and says, don't take that book, you haven't had it stamped. And I think the reason is books are so incredibly cheap, and nobody really reads them.
That's what I was going to say.
So they're not guarding them at all.
Right. That's so interesting.
When was the last time a library, was knocked over? A liquor store maybe, but a library?
Exactly.
It just doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah, stick them up.
That's right. Well, Jeff, as a good basketball player, let's pivot now and move to the founding of Alexandria,
right? And
some of the archaeological difficulty in modern-day Alexandria,
right? So, as I'm sure some of our listeners know, Alexandria, there is a modern-day Alexandria, Egypt, which is its position roughly correlates with the ancient Alexandria, which was one of the many Alexandrias,
right,
that Alexander founded on his trek from Macedon all the way out to India.
Yes, by my count, according to sources, something like 27
is that right?
Different
that many?
Alexandrias.
Right. So it doesn't betray a lot of creativity.
No, it doesn't. So 336 is when he took the reins, and 323 is when he gave them up in Babylon. So 13 years, he was averaging, by my math, 2 Alexandrias per year.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
How many Jeffreys have you founded?
I'm still working on my first one.
Your first Jeffrey.
Very humbling. Like 2 Alexandrias a year. But in terms of what survived, I believe that Alexandria, Egypt is really the only one that survives as a modern...
Kandahar.
Kandahar is
Afghanistan.
That was an Alexandria.
That's Alexandria, Kandahar. You can hear it kind of in the name.
Okay.
Interesting, huh?
That is very interesting.
Mm-hmm. But Alexandria has the library and the famous story of when he showed up and Diogenes of Babylon was there for some, I think it was Alexandria. Although with a name like Diogenes of Babylon, maybe he was in Babylon. In any event, he was a Stoic.
Yes.
And Alexander said, "You're the wisest man in the world, and I'm the most powerful man in the world. So what can I give you?" And Diogenes said very memorably, "Could you just step out of my sun a little bit? Because you're blocking my tan."
You're blocking my tan. Yes, exactly. He was harshing his vibe.
Brilliant.
Right. He's the guy who lived in the barrel, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So he wasn't actually a Stoic, he's a cynic.
Cynic, yes.
My fault there. I got both the geography and the philosophical school wrong.
But that you got the anecdote.
I hope so.
Dead on.
Now we have to wonder if I got his name right.
Now, one of the big frustrations for those interested in the archaeological remains of Alexandria, but I'm getting old. Did we have an episode on the tomb of Alexander?
Yes, we covered that.
Okay.
And there was a not cartouche. What is that thing?
The catafalque?
A catafalque.
Yes.
That's correct. That he was
the hearse.
Yes, that he was carried around in. A cartouche is something else.
Right. Yes.
Catafalque.
Catafalque. Right. So Ptolemy, gets the body of Alexander. Actually hijacks it. The story was on its way back to Pella or Macedon, and gets the body and brings it back to Alexandria, where it is eventually, it takes a long time, eventually buried in grand fashion in Alexandria. And many people have taken that move of Ptolemy getting the body of Alexander as kind of to signify who really wins the battle as things are divided up amongst his generals.
Yes.
And so, and it's not Alexander himself, but it's the Ptolemies that end up kind of building Alexandria into, I don't know if Alexander himself envisioned this, but they turn it into this absolute kind of jewel of the Mediterranean.
Yes.
But one of the big problems for archaeologists is that the modern city betrays nothing of its ancient predecessor.
Right.
So for Rome, you take an aerial shot of Rome.
Yes.
You can see in many places the outlines of the buildings.
This is superimposed on that.
Yeah.
This is superimposed on that.
Right. And so the buildings are built on ancient foundations. The roads follow generally the same pattern.
Right.
But Alexandria is one of these cities where it's almost a completely different city built on top of the ancient stuff.
So it's like you or me from a high school yearbook photo, right? There you can see the ancient edition, and then you compare it to 2025.
Yes.
You say, there's no connection between these two.
Exactly. How did that become that?
Exactly.
Right.
There's no way.
Now, have you? I got to ask. I don't think you have. I'm certainly. Have you been to Egypt?
No, I have not.
I have not.
I have
either.
been to the African continent twice now.
Yes.
But both times have been never supra-Saharan.
I had one time supra in Tunisia.
You were at Tatooine.
I was in Tatooine and Carthage, but it's one of my dreams is to get to particularly to Alexandria.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's see the Great Pyramids in Giza and so forth.
That'd be fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the year was 2021. Mm-hmm. The month was November, and the date was the 30th.
Yes.
The title of the episode was "I Want My Mummy."
That's bad.
Yeah. Surrounded by such things as "There's No Place Like Dome." And How to Be a Latin Guru, parts 1 and 2.
Okay.
So it was The Lost Tomb of Alexander the Great,
Yes.
I Want My Mummy, episode 65.
Okay.
That's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. It's almost 4 years now.
Yeah, it feels like 118 episodes ago.
Almost
that.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that
28.
episode, we talked about how the Lost Tomb, and I think the library is right up there with it, was this magnificent building and structure. And but it's completely lost to history.
Yes.
Such that, I mean, there are theories that we talked about in that episode about where the tomb might be, but in modern day Alexandria, where would you even begin to dig for it?
Yeah, I have no idea.
No idea. Right.
I don't know if the foundations of the Pharos are there.
I think they have found those. Those
300 foot high, tall lighthouse.
Yes, I think those have been found because they're submarine. But once you get into the city proper,
are they also underwater?
They are, both of those.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So, where do if we were to look for the foundations of the library, where we even start to look? Even as famous as it was, its location within the city is vague. Just like the Lost Tomb, we kind of somewhere in the center. But how do you find the center?
Yes.
It's it would be just a hunt and peck.
That's right.
Horrible type of process to try to find these things. Yeah.
Okay, so Alexander departs the scene in 323, and his generals then carve up the empire. And who is it that takes Egypt?
That is Ptolemy.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was one of the main right hand men of Alexander, and he went after Egypt because there is a sense that it was seen as the crown jewel.
Okay.
So
this is Ptolemy.
Ptolemy.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. P-Tom.
The guy with the least pronounceable name gets the southernmost kingdom.
Exactly.
All right.
Yep. So Alexander, just to kind of refresh our audience's memory, he sweeps down. He goes to Egypt. That's where he visits the oracle, which proclaims that he's a son of a deity.
Yes,
right?
at Ammon. Right.
Yep. And then he starts heading east.
Right.
And he never makes it back to Egypt. He ends up limping back from India to Babylon, where he dies under mysterious circumstances.
That's right.
Yeah.
Perhaps poisoning in a horse's hoof.
Yes.
But that's for another episode. Number 65, in fact. Anyway,
right.
Ptolemy the First, who takes an eponym, right? Soter.
Soter, the savior.
The savior of the city, the savior of the race. And
Yep.
what is it that Ptolemy does?
Well, he establishes the eponymous Ptolemaic dynasty.
Okay.
In Egypt, and in some ways, it's believed that he carries out Alexander's plans for this city.
Kind of cultural renewal,
Right.
or at least, I don't know, cultural hegemony, something like that?
Yes. And
So in the Oliver Stone movie, if I'm not mistaken, at the very beginning, Ptolemy is played by Anthony Hopkins, because
I've never seen this.
yeah, who else?
Hopkins plays Ptolemy.
Yes, in,
Okay.
in a brief kind of excursus, which shows I think he plays Ptolemy and not Aristotle, in the idea that what's coming next is all Ptolemy's recollections of his buddy Alexander.
Oh, okay. That's the frame of the
Plot
whole
device.
The film. Okay. And who's
Yes.
the guy who plays Alexander again?
Firth?
Or Farrell? Isn't it Colin Farrell?
I can't ever tell them apart. Firth the Fourth.
You get your Collins mixed up.
I do.
Right. But getting back to our story, so Ptolemy, it's not Ptolemy the first proper, but it's his descendants that.
Ptolemy the second. Philadelphus.
Yes, brotherly love.
Right.
And he's the one who is credited with having the grand vision and turning Alexander into what it becomes famous for. Right.
And he builds the Museion.
Yes.
Right, which is the temple of the muses. And for those of you who use Latin much, you want to refer to your office space, right, where you grade papers and so forth. Museum is a common way to refer to that.
Right. And
based on this.
the root of our word museum.
Of
right?
course.
Exactly.
So were the Ptolemies ruthless and ambitious in their pursuit of knowledge, would you say?
This is one of my favorite details.
Okay.
Apparently that when ships would come into the Grand Harbor,
Right.
They would send search parties aboard, and if they had any texts or scrolls or codices on board, they would confiscate them. And they would then copy them, put the originals in the library in the Museion, and then give copies back.
Give back the copies.
Yeah.
Huh.
Right. Yeah.
That's a heavy tax.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, really, really quite interesting. But so it seems that Ptolemy II had this idea of turning Alexander not just into kind of an architectural jewel, but a place that would kind of demonstrate the latest technology and science and engineering, and a place of learning. And indeed, it does come to be a place that attracts scholars from all around the world.
Callimachus.
Yes, Callimachus was there.
Eratosthenes.
Euclid.
Theocrates from Sicily with his famous pastoral idylls.
Yes.
They all flock to Alexandria because the Ptolemies are writing some big checks.
Yes, exactly right. They become the patron of all this. And I think because of the lack of its archaeological presence, I think that my sense is that Alexandria today, or the way that it's remembered, is it seems to kind of punch below its weight from what it really was. So I mean, there's the famous story where Caesar, we'll talk about Caesar coming to Alexandria. He comes and sees Alexandria, and he realizes that Rome back home is a dump.
Yeah.
And his plans before he was murdered was the idea that we need to turn Rome into an Alexandria.
Right. Which is what Augustus does, right?
Yeah,
he famously says in his Res Gestae, I received it as a city of bricks, and I left it a city of marble.
Right, exactly. So it comes down to a descendant or an heir to bring the idea to completion.
So Archimedes was there, the guy that figured out the volume of a cone. Did you know that?
Was he working at like the Tasty Freeze?
I don't know. I have trouble filling an ice cream cone, or eating the whole thing without covering myself in something indecorous, but he figured out the equation, the formula for the volume of a cone.
Exactly.
Phenomenal. Eratosthenes,
Yes.
right, whose famous moniker was Beta, the original beta male, Eratosthenes, because he was second best at everything.
Oh, really? What?
Which is pretty good.
That's not bad.
Second best poet, second best mathematician, second best philosopher.
Yeah,
that's pretty high.
That's not bad, exactly. No. But he kind of had maybe a Napoleon complex throughout his life, right?
And then he calculated the circumference of the Earth to within 5%.
Right.
Because he paid this guy to walk from Alexandria to the equator and calculate the number of steps that he took. Then he did some fancy geometry.
Yeah.
And he calculated the Earth's circumference.
That's not bad.
That's really impressive.
I stumbled across what I am never ceased to be amazed at by what people will get angry and argue about.
Oh, sure.
And somebody, I subscribe to these Greek facts, things that they'll drop into
flood your mailbox?
My mailbox, right? And then they'll send you to a link of where it's a post in social media. And there was something about Eratosthenes.
It's rage farming. I don't think what they call that is engagement farming or clickbait, rage farming.
Yeah, rage bait.
Right.
I mean, this was not rage bait. It was just it was highlighting, here's another wonderful thing that came from the ancient Greek world, and it was celebrating Eratosthenes, the first to calculate the circumference of the Earth, blah, 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 blah. And the comments below were just raging and say, well, the Sumerians did it better. And they turned it into kind of a white supremacist kind of thing.
That is crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
There's no way for me to segue from white supremacist into the ads. And so I'm not going to do it.
Right. No, exactly. We'll have to find another way to segue into the ads. Right. Yeah.
We'll just hop on that segue and ride right into the ads when people least expect it.
Right.
Was there a daughter library established in Alexandria also?
Right. I think so. This is also part of the way in which the myth surrounding its burning simplifies things. It wasn't just one. It wasn't the Alva building, right? There was.
It's not easy to say.
That is not. There was a number of places,
right.
And there was never one central library. And so, in addition to the museum, we also learned there was a sister library at the Serapeum, dedicated to Serapis, kind of this hybrid Greek-Egyptian god, a combination of Zeus and some Egyptian ideas. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so that individual got their own library called the Serapeum.
Yes, right. And the story there is that there were, at its peak, perhaps hundreds of thousands of scrolls there. Right.
And no way really to search them. There had to be a list. I'm not being facetious here.
No.
There had to be a list or an index of some sort.
Right.
And some individual who knew where everything was stored?
Yeah, I guess so. No, I think that's one of those unanswerable questions because literally nothing remains.
Right.
We'll talk a little bit later about some other libraries that existed in the ancient world, which maybe give us a clue of maybe how it was organized, but how this worked. You went to was there a guy like a concierge?
Yeah.
And you said, this is what I want to see? And
I'd like something in an ancient mystery. I'd like some Philodemus.
Right.
What do you have?
What do you got for me?
Right. What do you have in the Menander section?
Right.
Maybe some Diphilus, maybe?
Yeah. Something like that. Well, speaking of Diphilus, Dave,
yes.
Yeah, it's time for the ads.
All right. This episode of Ad Nauseam is brought to you by the good brewmasters at Ratio Coffee. Our friend Mark Helweg, an entrepreneur, got tired of all of the mass brewed coffee that was being served to the people, and he said, I can do better.
Yes.
So he invented first the Ratio 8, the flagship machine. It's got glass, it's got aluminum, has wood accents, Fibonacci head, metallic veins. The bottom line is it's an automatic pour-over machine that makes a perfect cup of coffee every time.
That's exactly right. And you're not going to find some kind of scorch pad, anything that will set your library on fire.
That's right, or a Kindle brick.
Yes, exactly. Nothing like that on this machine. The hulking flagon will keep your coffee warm naturally for hours.
So you had some this morning.
Of course.
Out of the 8. Then when you tooled into the CC campus to teach archaeology,
yes,
did you fire up the 4?
I didn't, but only because I was late in getting to work. I didn't have time. But usually, as you say, I got the 4 that's on my desk in my office, and I will brew it myself up, just a single cup. to get me kind of off and running to class. Yeah.
Would you say it's fair to describe the four as the first affordable and beautiful half-batch pour-over coffee machine?
I think that's right on.
As our smallest brewer yet, an agile and sleek machine that puts out between 5 and 20 ounces of coffee per batch.
That sounds about right.
Enough for 1 to 2 reasonably sized cups or one big travel mug?
Indeed.
Okay.
Yep.
Will there be any of that aroma?
Could you be more specific?
I can't really describe it.
I think what you're
It's
looking
got some consonants and a number of syllables.
could it be brackish tang?
That could be it.
Okay. Yeah, no, none of that.
It's small enough to fit on any countertop, and it's built to last, backed by a 5-year warranty. Jeff, what should they do?
Well, they should go to ratiocoffee.com. They should find one of these wonderful devices and put it in their little grocery satchel. And if they go to ratiocoffee.com/ad nauseum, very important.
Then they need to enter a coupon code, which is
AN ratio 2025.
And what will that get them?
That will get them $20 off their entire order.
Check it out.
This episode of Ad Nauseam is also brought to you by Hackett Publishing.
Who?
I love these guys.
Okay.
Yeah. This company has been with us since the very beginning. They took a chance on a couple of knuckleheads.
Now, are these the people that have all the books about eggs?
What are you talking about?
Crackit Publishing?
No. That's different. Well, we can talk about those
Okay.
guys. I've had it with those guys. Right. Hackett Publishing. No. Since 1970, they have been bringing the classics and many other different titles to the public in an erudite and affordable form. I think we saw in them, and I hope they saw in us, kindred spirits. They are trying to keep the flame of the classics alive, and they're doing it in a way that is very, very accessible to the public out there.
Are these the same people that publish books about hitting rodents with mallets?
Are you talking about Hackett Publishing?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Are they coming out with a brand new edition of Aristotle?
They are.
A 2-volume cloth-bound slipcase with tote bag
Is the
coming soon?
Is the tote bag included?
Well, yes, for certain special recipients like you and me and
That's
others.
right. Fantastic. Yes. No. New editions of Aristotle. Just one of many wonderful things that Hackett offers.
And these are the folks that also have a picture of Elvis Presley on their translation of Euripides' Bacchae.
Yes, the brilliant use of modern imagery. That they have the picture of the D-Day landing on their cover of the Iliad. It's
and
just
the moon
great.
shot for the Odyssey.
The Odyssey. It's great. It's clever. My students love it because you can pick up a copy of Lombardo's Odyssey for less than $10.
Right.
It's incredible.
So for the price of one chemistry textbook, you could get 14 or 15 Hackett titles.
Indeed.
Of the highest quality. So what should the listeners do?
Well, hey, our listeners, I'm guessing, we're right in the middle of an episode on libraries. I'm sure our listeners are interested in expanding their own personal libraries, and shopping at Hackett is a great way to do it. So if you go, listener, to hackettpublishing.com, it's HACKETT publishing.com, find the works that you want, the books you want, drop them into the little grocery bag. And Dave, what's our coupon code for Hackett?
The coupon code is AN2025. Now beware, this won't work at any competitors.
No.
Like the people who only publish things with brackets, right? Bracket Publishing.
Bracket Publishing, yeah.
Parentheses free since 1993.
That's right.
That's their slogan. It'll only work at Hackett, and the code is AN2025. Jeff, what does it get them?
That gets them two amazing things. It's 20% off your entire order and free shipping.
Up and at them. No, check it out. Check it out. Not up and at them.
So that's a little Easter egg for the those who haven't skipped the ads.
Haven't skipped the ads.
That's
what about Della Chelpka?
Della Chelpka. Hey, are you ready for art that truly speaks to your story? Meet Della, a Tucson-based oil painter who captures the people, places, and moments you cherish with breathtaking detail. She's showcased her work in multiple galleries, illustrated books, and is often commissioned for standout projects. You can see her current works for sale at her website, dellachelpka.art. That's DELLCHELPKA.art. So to find your inspiration, visit that website and use, Dave, this coupon code, Apelles.
Apelles?
Who's Apelles?
Apelles was the most famous painter of antiquity. Virtually every scroll in the Library of Alexandria was illustrated by Apelles.
Incredible.
Not true, but incredible.
And that's spelled APELLES. So if you go to dellachelpka.art, find the works that you want, use the coupon code Apelles, you will get 10% off your entire order.
Check it out. All right, Jeff. So people have checked it out like we asked them to, and now we're getting back into it.
Yes. So I think we should address the actual burnings of the library. and talk about some of these disparate events that the myth has kind of collapsed into kind of one single catastrophe.
All right.
Right. So we start off with probably the best known of these. This is the fire associated with Julius Caesar. We're talking 48 BC. So this is 4 years before he is murdered back in Rome. And during a siege in Alexandria, Caesar set fire to the Egyptian fleet in the harbor. All right, so
That was a military move.
a military move. Yep. And then the flames spread to the city and damaged some buildings. And so it's during that aspect of it that there is some damage to the library. And it's been a clue to archaeologists that suggests, well, the library must have been fairly close to the harbor, or fairly close to the water. And it just gives a small clue of maybe where it would have been located in the city, but not much. Right. And our main source for this is Plutarch. And
so what does he say?
so this is Plutarch. This is in his Life of Caesar, where he writes, when the enemy endeavored to cut off his own communication by sea, he was forced to divert that danger by setting fire to his own ships, which, after burning the docks, then spread on and destroyed the great library.
So he said it destroyed the great library.
Right. And so I think a lot of the myth about the destruction of the library has come from Plutarch's phrase.
I see.
Now, other sources seem to argue against that and suggest that, well, it didn't burn the whole library, but just a part of it.
It just destroyed a warehouse maybe that had some scrolls in it?
Something like that. Right, exactly. But not a complete destruction.
But these were mostly titles by Jacqueline Suzanne, maybe Sidney Sheldon, Jackie Collins, Harold Robbins, Judith Krantz, that kind of stuff.
James Patterson.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Just got your airport, mind numb read.
Correct.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So
Where the cover tells you everything you need to know about the content.
exactly right. So not a huge loss.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, so that was the first major so-called burning.
And the second one would be Aurelian's War.
Yeah, a long time later.
270 AD, so this fast forwards more than 300 years.
Yes, exactly. And so here, most scholars think that even by this time, whatever the library was already in decline.
Okay.
It had long past reached its high point.
Yes.
And its high point existed long after Caesar's initial burning.
Right.
And
I can kind of chart, if I may, the beginning of the decline for me in terms of library usage.
Yeah.
I still use the library quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because it gets titles I can't get elsewhere. But the library began to decline for me when in the 1990s I was in grad school.
Mm-hmm.
And I started going to the public library primarily to check out DVDs and also to read the newspaper for free.
Yeah.
Because they had a lot of subscriptions of the newspaper and they kept them on those really long sticks.
I remember that.
Remember those?
Yes,
I don't
indeed.
think libraries still do that.
I don't think
because
so either.
It's all online.
Right, yeah.
Well, I didn't want to purchase the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. I'd go read it for free.
So this was the public library, not the University
This is the public
of
library.
Iowa?
Well, the University of Library had them also, but it was much larger and further from where I lived. I could just hike over to the public library
I see.
and take advantage of all that stuff for free. And
Exactly.
I think that was the beginning of the demise for me.
Yes. Gotcha, yeah.
Can you mark it, or are you still a library guy?
Well, I remember maybe not quite the decline, but the library at Northwestern University, where I did my grad work, is a very I don't know if it's still like this, but it's one of these buildings that a library should be very easy to find things. Right?
Yes.
It should be designed to be, and it was not.
to serve people.
It had these three massive towers.
Okay.
And such that if you
There
saw
were guards stationed in them, and they throw water balloons at you. Or?
I remember there was an infamous woman at the entrance and exit that she did a full search of your bags.
Was this Lazy Susan?
She was not lazy.
Okay.
This was very intense, Susan.
I see.
But the joke is that these three towers, from if you were to look at it from space or
Right.
from an aerial shot, looked like intersecting gears.
We would now say drone footage.
Drone
but
footage.
that didn't exist at the time.
Right. And so the nickname for the structure was Battlestar Librarica.
Oh, that is interesting.
Which is a great nickname.
Yeah.
But I hated that library.
Yeah.
But
On top of one of the towers was a large flaming eye.
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So I remember. I see that as a library that I loved. The first floor, same thing, to read the newspapers.
Right.
But finding things and
Difficult.
It was soulless. You
Yeah.
know, there was an older part to the library called the Deering Library, which was all wood panels. I remember walking in there. They had a bust of Athena on the desk.
They give you a smoking jacket.
It was awesome.
A snifter. I can't even say it. A snifter of brandy.
Of brandy. It looked like it was something out of Harry Potter. That
Nice.
was wonderful, but that
Right.
was the old library. The new library was one of these soulless things that was built in the 1970s, like brutalist architecture.
Yeah. Speaking of brutalist architecture,
Yeah.
Aurelian's War.
Yes.
So the library's prestige and resources were in gradual decline
Yep.
during the Roman period due to a lack of sustained royal patronage.
Yes.
People weren't cutting checks anymore.
No.
If you were a wealthy individual, would you endow a library?
I don't know.
The correct answer is yes.
Well, eventually, I don't think it'd be the top of my list.
Wouldn't be the first thing?
No. I think I would.
You'd revive Nickelback.
Some things just shouldn't be brought back from the dead.
Okay.
Right. But you'd endow a library?
I would like to, but I would make
millions?
Membership difficult. So it's free, but there's an application process.
So not everybody can get into your library.
No, I don't think so. But it's not based on class or anything like that.
No.
It's merit. Do you want the books? I don't want you wandering around if you're not interested in the books.
Yeah. Okay. So no.
Something like that.
No looky-loos at
Exactly.
at the Noe library.
That's right.
Right.
The final blow to the main library building was likely during a civil war in the late 3rd century A.D.
Mm-hmm.
The Roman Emperor Aurelian's recapture of Alexandria resulted in significant damage to the royal quarter where the main library was located. By that time, it was likely already a shadow of its former self.
So, was that a library joke? The
Yes,
shelf?
it
Nice.
was.
But again, as I'm sure many in our audience know, 270s AD, the Roman Empire is starting to fragment and crumble.
is.
We're in that kind of that horrible period of the soldier emperors, and,
Right.
And it's just one backstabbing after another. So it shouldn't surprise us that at a city on the fringes
That's right.
of the empire, it's already falling apart.
It's not getting the patronage.
Right.
So what about Theophilus and the Serapeum?
Right. So the next catastrophe, is around 391 A.D., where we learn in the late 4th century, the Christian patriarch Theophilus of Alexandria ordered the destruction of pagan temples, including the Serapeum. Well, this
And the closing of all of the schools of philosophy.
Yes, exactly. Right. And I think that also related to this is in that story of the tomb of Alexander. I think that also that tomb was thought by some to be either destroyed or sealed up for good during the same period, right? So while this event led to the destruction of the Serapeum's book collection, this was apparently just the daughter library and not the main one.
It was like a branch library.
Branch library,
where
right.
you go to not get the best stuff.
Yes.
You got to go downtown to get the good stuff.
Exactly, right. And it's thought that the main library had been gone for quite some time, maybe even dating back to that destruction under Aurelian.
Okay. So you couldn't check out anything at this library anymore?
Apparently. Right.
My impression is there's probably not a lot of checking out going on. You go there and under close scrutiny, maybe from the lady who was in one of the towers. You get to read something that's there.
Yeah, something like that. It's what I
imagine.
imagine.
If you're a scholar.
Imagine. I've never done it myself, but someone wanted to consult the Vatican Library.
Yeah, or the Folger Library.
Yeah.
In Washington D.C., I believe, where they have the Shakespeare manuscripts.
Right.
Instant coffee, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So you have some instant coffee while you look over a folio of Macbeth.
That's correct.
Right? But yeah, and so I imagine you have
both equally stale. Let me say.
Yeah. Oh, I love Macbeth.
You do.
That's my favorite of them all. Yes.
Short and brutal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, I imagine you have the guard looking over your shoulder with the white gloves, and making sure you're not messing it up.
Wrapping your knuckles.
Yes.
But then the Arab conquest.
Yeah.
642 post Muhammad.
Yeah. Before we get into that, I mean, that the story with Theophilus, I think that's the source of the myth where it was the Christians that burned the library down because they wanted to, silence the pagan voices, which is not the truth.
So were these the same Christians that, according to the little film in the Acropolis Museum in Athens, destroyed the Parthenon?
Yeah.
Same persons, separated by maybe a couple hundred years,
right.
but just wandering around the Mediterranean, torching things.
Just looking for something to torch.
Yeah.
Right.
So drink a cup of Folgers and then burn something pagan.
Right. Yeah. So, that is that's been one of these things that's often the conspiracy theory that I will hear from people, that these things were destroyed by these fundamentalists.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
As though the scrolls in the Alexandrian library were influencing culture in any specific way.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
But now we move on to 642 AD, right?
Yes. And our sources tell us that this is the most famous and widely debunked myth. So it's often attributed to the story of Caliph Omar, who has supposedly ordered the library scrolls to be burned, claiming that if they contradicted the Quran, they were heretical, and if they agreed, they were superfluous. The story first, however, appears in a 13th century text nearly 600 years after the event, and is almost universally regarded by modern historians as a later fabrication. By the 7th century, there's no evidence that any significant library still existed in Alexandria.
Well, that must have been very disappointing if you showed up with your library card, right, and there's nothing there.
Nothing there, exactly. Right, exactly. What are you supposed to do?
I don't know.
Yeah.
In the library in Belding, we played chess in the basement.
Yeah.
On weekends.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. We wandered around and waited for our mom to pick us up.
Yeah.
Because, like you were saying, with the Georgetown Library, it's cheap babysitting.
Cheap babysitting.
And there were no computers at the time, right? So there's no kind of possibility of mischief online.
Yeah.
The worst you could do is, I don't know, hit someone with a book, probably.
Right, exactly. No, yeah, same here. Instead of playing chess, that's where my nerdy self was introduced to Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, sure.
And so that was the place where the other like-minded nerds would gather and play these games. Yeah.
You're casting a lot of aspersions.
On myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that.
So I think that most historians think that the library itself really ceased to exist by 4th, 5th century.
Yeah.
At the latest.
Okay.
And by the time the Muslims come along and conquer Egypt, there was nothing there.
There was nothing really to destroy in terms of the library. Not that they would have, but there was no opportunity.
Right.
So we have some interesting ancient quotes about the library, don't we?
Yes, and not many of them.
Okay.
Historians are also quick to point out is that one of our reasons there's such mystery around the library is that there's just so little that people wrote about it. There's nothing that physically survives of it.
So you're saying that a library was not a popular topic of discussion as opposed to, say, the lives of the rich and famous.
Right, exactly. As it was then, as it is today.
As it is today.
Right.
So the first one is Ammianus Marcellinus, am I right?
Yes, and this is later.
Sounds like a cleaning product.
Exactly. It works good on bathroom tile. But this one, I mean, he dates to right around the time where the Theophilus burning would have taken place. So very late. You want to read this?
Yeah, I got some Latin here I would like to read, and then maybe you can read some of the translation. So the Latin is taken from thelatinlibrary.com, aptly named. And it goes like this. His accedunt altis sufflata fastigiis templa, interquae eminent serrapium quadlicet minuantur exilitate verborum, atriis tamen columnariis amplissimis, et spiritorantibus signorum figmentis et reliqua operum multitudine ita est ex ornatum, ut post capitolium, quose venerabilis Roma in aeternum atulit, nihil orbis terrarum ambitiosius Carnot.
Nicely done.
Thank you. I enjoy it. Can you give us the translation, which is from Rolfe, I believe?
Rolfe.
John C. Rolfe.
John C. Rolfe's translation, yes. There were besides in the city temples pompous with lofty roofs. I like that phrasing.
Yeah, I do too.
Conspicuous among them, the Serapeum, which though feeble words merely belittle it, yet is so adorned with extensive columned halls, with almost breathing statues, and a great number of other works of art, that next to the Capitolium, with which revered Rome lifts herself to the eternal, the whole world beholds nothing more magnificent. In this were immense libraries, and the unanimous belief of the ancient authors is that some 700,000 volumes, brought together by the persistent care of the Ptolemies, were consumed in the Alexandrian War when the city was sacked under the dictator Caesar.
Okay.
All right.
So that goes back to Plutarch.
Right.
But not all the details, because Plutarch doesn't mention a number, right?
Right.
So far as I know. But Ammianus Marcellinus says 700,000 volumes.
Right. And I don't know enough about Marcellinus to know if there's any evidence that he was in Alexandria himself.
Right.
This is reporting from a personal
hearsay,
personal experience, but hearsay. But yes, that detail of the 700,000 volumes is one that's oft repeated.
I think any R1 university, right, a Research One university library, has a minimum of 1 million volumes.
Is that right?
Yep.
1 million, okay.
But 700,000 for antiquity?
It's unreal.
It is unreal.
It is unreal, yeah. So, I mean, there is, this reminds me of the fun things I've been able to do with lots of students is to take them on a field trip to Ann Arbor, to the University of Michigan, and we go to their papyrology collection, and they bring out all these wonderful examples of ancient, mostly in Greek, but some Egyptian and some stuff in Latin, and all of it is stuff that has been dug up from the sands, like near Oxyrhynchus and elsewhere.
Nag Hammadi,
right, and where they pulled these papyri out of the ground, the kind of stuff that would never survive in a more humid climate like Italy or Greece. The dry air allows these things to be pulled out of the ground. And
so if you were wealthy, you wouldn't be a benefactor of a library like that?
Like what? What do you mean?
Like the Papyrology Library.
Yeah.
Is it Kettering? Is that the...
It's
at Ann Arbor. It's the Kettering Museum, isn't it?
I'm forgetting.
Okay.
I'm forgetting now. Yeah.
Well, this allows certain individuals to send us a cor regendum.
There we go. But one of the things that strikes me is on almost all of these examples of the papyri, you see how they're used and reused and reused. And so on a fragment of Sophocles, you might find something akin to a shopping list or a personal note to self, which it shows how papyri, even in the hands of the relatively wealthy, it was rare enough that you had to repurpose it for lots of different things.
Yeah.
And so I think certainly someone who had a personal library had to be extremely rare.
Yes.
Right? You had to. But papyri was not cheap.
No.
And it makes me think of the example of the so-called Villa of the Papyri.
Yes.
In Herculaneum, which was toasted by Vesuvius.
Right, but from which finds are being unearthed.
Yes, and they found hundreds, if not thousands, of carbonized scrolls there.
Right.
And with the incredible advancements in technology, they can use infrared light. They can read these things without having to unroll them.
Right.
And so when we were first being excavated,
as well as spectrometry and other kinds of particle stuff.
Exactly, and they can separate out different inks. And so if it was reused, you can kind of look at different light levels and read it. It's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. But in the 19th century, when they were first being unearthed, they tried to different attempts to unroll these things, and they just kind of crumbled.
Yes, it's incredible.
But through that kind of thing, we're very slowly, perhaps, rediscovering or recovering ththings that would have been at the Library of Alexandria. That copies of them made their way to Herculaneum and Pompeii.
Right.
And just a reminder, like we said at the top, literacy levels were extremely low, maybe 10% at the most.
Yes.
And then you had to be, if you were literate, it probably meant you were in the upper crust of society.
For sure.
And then even amongst those groups, to have a personal library was also extremely rare. And so if you were a scholar with serious designs on adding to the body of ancient knowledge, you had to go to a place like Alexandria and use their collection on hand.
Now you just have to have a good internet connection.
Exactly. Yeah.
Seneca the Younger,
Mm-hmm.
Stoic Roman philosopher, took care of Nero in the first 5 years. The quinquennium helped him rule 4 BC to 65 AD.
Mm-hmm.
He says something, right, about the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah, he's the first to mention a specific number of scrolls that were burned in Caesar's fire. He writes, 40,000 books were burned at Alexandria. 40,000. Let someone else praise this library as the most noble monument to the wealth of kings, as did Titus Livy, who says that it was the most distinguished achievement of the good taste and solicitude of kings. There was no good taste or solicitude about it, but only learned luxury. Nay, not even learned, since they had collected books not for the sake of learning, but to make a show. So Seneca thinks, it was just...
Now there's a curmudgeon.
It was virtue signaling.
Yeah. So this is the translation of John W. Besor from the Loeb Classical Library. I've probably shared this anecdote with you, this incident with you before. But the year was 2000, and I was about to undertake my first academic job, and I was in Northern Virginia, and the semester hadn't begun yet, and I was at a local bookstore with my wife on a Saturday, getting some coffee, looking around, and I was browsing some books, and next to me was an individual, I won't name the person, I remember it, but an individual associated with the college where I was going to teach.
Yes.
But the individual was not employed by the college.
Okay.
And so he kind of recognized me a little bit from some of the press, and he said, "Who are you?" And I introduced myself, and he said, "This is who I am." I said, "That's great." He says, "What are you teaching?" I said, "Classics." "That's interesting." And then he said, he said, as he pointed at the books, he said, "I've probably read more books than you." And
really?
And I wanted to say, but I restrained myself.
Yes.
But this is the thought that immediately came to my mind. That's interesting, but did you understand any of them? That would have been a good burn.
That would have been a good burn.
That's jerk store.
That is right. You always think of the good burn too late.
Well, I thought of it at the moment.
Oh, you did. You just restrained yourself.
I just didn't want to, though sorely provoked by this individual.
Yeah.
I think sorely provoked. I just, in a rare moment of wisdom, I thought, don't bite back at him.
Right.
Instead, I waited 25 years, and now I'm biting back in front of hopefully large audience.
What an arrogant thing to say.
Well, the odd thing is I think he just felt insecure because I was younger than he and I was going to teach at this institution. But it's reminiscent of this comment by Seneca. It's not how many books you own.
Yeah.
It's how many books you've read.
Right.
And how many you've understood. Anyone who's literate can have their eyes glaze over the page.
Yes.
That's not the same thing as education. So.
Right. It reminds me of that famous passage from The Great Gatsby, where Gatsby has this library full of books with uncut pages, and so it's there just to demonstrate his wealth.
He's never even opened them.
Never even opened them.
The pages are uncut.
Right.
Yeah, it's a sad thing. So, did you ever go through a stage where you kept the books that you owned in two distinct and separate groups? The ones that you've read and the ones that you haven't?
I mean, it would in a very sloppy kind of way. I would stack up the books I've read like on my desk.
Right.
So I'd have this visual reminder of kind of my progress.
Right. These are the ones that I have. These
Yes.
ones. So I used to do that.
Yeah.
In recent years, I've gotten a little less refined because I've got more books and I'm less concerned about that problem.
Yeah.
I'm more willing to accept the fact I'll never read all the things that I want to.
Yeah.
And I will probably forget a large portion of what I have read.
Indeed. Right. Exactly.
So, the vanity that Seneca is rebuking in the Kings, he's right.
Yeah. It reminds me of a phrase once. This was not about reading books, but somebody complaining about, what's the use of a college education in this class? Because, in 5 years, I'm not going to remember any of this stuff anyway. And somebody said, well, I don't remember every meal that I've had, but I've been nourished by them all.
That's a good point.
Exactly.
And Umberto Eco, right? A Name of the Rose, and Foucault's Pendulum.
Yes.
He likes to say that the people who say you should only own books that you've read, he says that's a foolish way to look at things. It's like saying, I'll have in my garage only tools that I have used, and any that I don't regularly use, I'll jettison.
Yes.
I think he's probably right about that.
Yeah, I would agree. Absolutely.
Books are for reference, not for consumption.
Indeed. Yes.
So what about the destruction of the Serapeum, as we start to wrap this up?
Yeah, so a little bit more ancient evidence. This is from one Rufinus of Aquileia, whose dates the late 4th, early 5th century. So again, quite late to the story of the library. And if the other evidence is to be believed, then by the time he's writing, it's pretty much gone.
Right.
But he writes in his church history, finally the heathen were so stirred up by this that, relying on their numbers, they finally took up arms and gathered in the temple of Serapis. There they began to kill the Christians. Those who refused to sacrifice to Serapis, they forced to do so. They tortured them in the most cruel manner. At this point, the bishop, Theophilus, himself appeared, and in order to prevent further bloodshed, he got an imperial order to demolish all the temples of the gods in Alexandria. So he suggests that it was self-defense, right?
So the Christians, according to Rufinus, were in some sense involved in the destruction of the temples in Alexandria, but it was in response to provocation.
Exactly. It wasn't an animus to destroy these things because they were pagan.
It wasn't a hatred of knowledge,
right.
In other words.
Whatever the motive was,
right.
Choice A, choice B, or some other C in between, by the time this happened, it seems that the library itself was a shadow of its former self. And so we can't blame any side for the wholesale destruction of those 700,000 volumes because they weren't there by this time anyway.
Yeah. Yep. Side note on Rufinus of Aquileia, the great J.N.D. Kelly, 20th century church historian, thinks that Rufinus of Aquileia might be the author of the Athanasian Creed.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's completely unknown, right? Nobody knows who wrote it, but Kelly thinks it might be Rufinus.
Interesting. Sounds like that sounds like an episode.
Yes, he wrote a little monograph on it. Fascinating stuff.
Interesting stuff.
We could go over Orosius, right? The universal historian, friend of Augustine, or we could probably better move on to other libraries in antiquity.
Yeah.
Jeff, can you give us a quick tour of some of these?
Right, and this is important to note. Sometimes in the telling of this myth, the idea is that the Library of Alexandria was the library and the only library.
Like the Georgetown Library of Antiquity.
Yes, exactly right. But yes, many different places throughout the ancient world had libraries. There was the Library of Ashurbanipal, which goes back to the 7th century BCE, and this is from ancient Nineveh. And there too, so
it's in Mosul, right? Modern day, near modern day Mosul, Iraq.
Yep. And there, this is pre-codex, pre-scroll. This is these were cuneiform tablets made of clay. estimated some 30,000 tablets and fragments covering a wide range of subjects. So the concept of the library is deeply ancient.
Really durable, though, right? Those cuneiform clay tablets.
Oh, yeah.
If you check out, right, the most recent, is it James Michener who writes all those westerns?
Yeah, those giant long.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
You read any Michener?
I read one of his. It wasn't my thing.
I think I have read one or two Micheners.
I think I read his Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you check out a Michener in cuneiform, right, you can spill coffee and fried chicken all over it.
Exactly.
And just take it back and it's pristine.
Exactly. But getting it back and forth requires a pickup truck.
That's true.
and some of your best friends.
So that would seem to penalize the really long-winded guys like Tom Clancy.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Clancy in cuneiform.
Just get to
need
the
fleet,
point.
right? You'd have to get a fleet of Penske trucks
exactly
to
right.
read that.
Hardly worth it.
Exactly.
Right. And then just some others we might mention here. There was the Library of Pergamum.
Right.
I've become recently kind of fascinated with Pergamum.
Pergamum? You've never been to Berlin, have you?
I've not been to Berlin. I've never been to Pergamum.
Yes, but in Berlin, in the museums, are most of the archaeological remains of Pergamum.
Yes, most famous, the big altar.
The altar, and I've never seen it.
No, me either.
Should we stop by Berlin on our way to Alexandria?
Alexandria. Maybe we could even skip over to Pergamum itself, too.
Okay.
I've been fascinated. There's a Asclepion at the foot of that cliff that is absolutely fascinating. But apparently, in the 3rd century BC, there was a highly renowned rival library in Pergamum.
Oh.
And so this library was,
so rival to the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah, existed at the same time. The rulers of Pergamum, the Adelaide dynasty, were keen to build a collection that could compete with Alexandria's. And so there are some...
They have competing swag, too.
Oh, like they had to have.
Coffee mug from Pergamum.
Tote bags.
Right.
Exactly. Right. But some reports say that up to 200,000 scrolls at Pergamum, making it one of the largest libraries of the time. And Plutarch mentions it and says the library's entire collection was gifted by Mark Antony to Cleopatra to replenish the Library of Alexandria. So Mark Antony raided that library.
It was a love move.
It was a love move.
This will win Cleopatra over.
Right.
I'll give her the entire collection of the Library of Pergamum.
Right. I never used that as a wooing strategy.
You never did.
Stealing a bunch of books from one
Here's
library.
my library card. That's not going to work with the ladies.
No.
What about the Library of Celsus?
Yes, this is that the facade of that famously survives, that kind of beautiful multi-story column building.
Where is this?
In Ephesus.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Which is a magnificent archaeological site. But yes, that too was it was a library. It was a tomb for the man who gives his name, for Celsus, but it too was destroyed in the 3rd century by a Gothic invasion. 12,000 scrolls, we estimate, were lost in that.
Getting smaller and smaller. The 700,000 of Alexandria, the 200,000 of Pergamum,
right.
the 12,000 of the Library of Celsus.
Right. And then a couple more. 4th century, the Imperial Library of Constantinople, established by Constantine. And then quite a bit later, that so-called House of Wisdom in the 9th century, established in Baghdad, which was a center of scholarship in the so-called kind of Islamic Golden Age. Right? So all this is to say is that the Library of Alexandria was important,
right?
But its history is complex.
Yes,
it didn't burn down all at once, and there were many other places that were doing a similar kind of thing.
Yes, it's a surviving institution. Do you think that as they survive today, do you think the bookstore or the public library is more in line with the spirit and trajectory of Alexandria?
Oh, man.
Tough question.
It is a tough
question. When was the last time you were at the public library?
Yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you check out books?
I did check out books.
Well,
yes.
You're quite rare, because my understanding from my family members who frequent the library is that very few books are checked out. You can check out a kayak. You can check out, I'm not making this up, you can check out a sewing machine.
Mm-hmm.
You can check out gardening tools. You can check out photography equipment.
Yeah.
And some people also check out books.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it kind of like, Amazon started out selling books, and now they sell, everything else.
Hardly anything.
Right.
But books.
But books, right. No, I think that's probably true. I mean, in the Grand Rapids main library, the first thing that you basically walk into is their vinyl collection.
Oh.
Right. So yeah, I think there's they've had to diversify, because I think the reading public shrinks every year, unfortunately.
Well, and a lot of stuff is available online.
True.
I read a really long, interesting essay on Saturday, but I read it online, which is a medium I generally hate, but you can't beat the convenience.
That's very, very true. Yeah.
Speaking of convenience, Jeff,
Yes.
we have to get out of here because the American Library Association.
What? I thought they'd be happy. What we're talking
Apparently
about.
not.
What, really?
I don't know why, but they're trying to get in here.
Yeah. Are they accusing of coming with torches and gonna burn down there?
I think that's what they're afraid of.
Well, that seems a little bit rash.
Maybe
but
there was a Sasquatch sighting, perhaps, just to trot out an old trope. Right, the hairy creature with the Swiss chronometer.
That's exactly the Sasquatch.
The Sasquatch.
That's right. So maybe they're just on their way through trying to track down the Sasquatch.
Could be.
All right, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But yes, we got to get out of here. But Dave, before we do, you can help our listeners learn some Latin. They can learn some Greek. How should they do that?
They should go to latinperdiem.com, latinperdiem.com, and check out some of my courses. We have a new one. This is a masterclass in Juvenal's satires. This is the bread and circuses guy, Juvenal. Now, maybe you're thinking, my Latin's decent. I'm ready for a masterclass, but I don't want the pressure of Dr. Noe calling on me.
Yeah.
I don't want the pressure of preparing. I don't want his intense gaze and scolding. You can watch the class as an audit after the fact at a value price. So we also have a coupon code. 10 plus 10PLUS. We've had a lot of students lately, Jeff, enrolling in the Greek class.
Fantastic.
Moss method takes you from
neophyte to erudite.
Nice. And we would love to have you in one of these classes. We meet on Fridays for Moffus hours. And I'm working on finishing up Module 3. When I finish Module 3, I will have prepared 120 video lessons, some of length more than an hour.
Fantastic.
So I'm really confident this is the most comprehensive and expert introduction to Attic and Koine Greek available online, maybe available ever in this medium, because I don't know anyone else who's doing it like this.
That's fantastic. That sounds
so
great.
Please go check it out. And Jeff, we have some people to thank.
Yes, as always, our wonderful Mishka, our engineer, who turns us around so quickly, makes us sound so professional, way more than we actually are. And hey, how about this guitarist? This
Jeff Sheets.
Yes.
With the Thrill Seeker intro and outro music, the thrill of listening to great music and reading classical literature. He also gives us the bumper music for the ads. It's a song he wrote called Rush Hour. And check out his stuff, jeffsheetsmusic.com. Jeff, if they want to get in touch with us, what should they do?
It's very easy. They can write to you, Dave at adnauseum.com. Don't forget that V.
Or they can write to you, Jeff at adnauseum.com. There is a V at adnauseum. The website has been redesigned. We're still in process getting some things working. But this is a good way to contact us, pick up a t-shirt or a hat, show the people that you're taking in the classics.
And keeping them down.
A couple more quick things before the gustatory parting shot.
Yes. You can still enter to win this this volume of a Plato Reader from Hackett Publishing, right?
That's right.
Well, one last chance. The drawing will be in episode 195. This currently you're listening to episode 193.
That's right.
And so if you want to be entered for the drawing, you write to Dave at adnauseum.com. Don't forget that V. And put this word in the subject line, Plato.
Plato.
Yep.
Yes, you ought to be able to spell that, we say. Episode 194, Jeff, I think it's time to revisit, as we soon put to rest, Carl Richard, the golden age of the classics in America.
Yes.
This is a chapter I've already read. It's about the classics and Christianity.
Interesting.
So I think we have only a couple more. The classics and Christianity in the antebellum Americas, then the classics and slavery, which promises to be a good one.
Yes.
And then we have a little conclusion, and that wraps it up.
Yes.
So you don't want to miss this.
Excellent. Yes.
And I believe, Jeff, you have the gustatory parting shot this week.
Yes, this comes from the late, great comedian John Pinette.
I've never heard of him.
Yes, he was a huge guy.
Really?
If you remember...
you mean hugely popular, or you're talking about his girth?
I'm talking about both, actually.
Oh.
If you remember the much reviled Seinfeld finale, he was the large man that the crew was mocking.
Oh, he was in that.
That gets him in trouble.
I did not know that.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
But funny.
Very funny,
Okay.
but and passed away not that long ago. But he writes, salad is not food. Salad is a promissory note that food will soon arrive.
That's pretty good. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.